The sexual tension was heavy in the air during my Friday night packed screening of the movie Challengers, or if some have decided to call it the Zendaya threesome movie. Fools! But as the electronic score jolted with sweaty determination, director Luca Guadagnino and cinematographer Sayam Muktipram craft their sensual sight on three ambitious tennis players who fight each other over sex, love, and power. As Zendaya strutted across the screen, leading this tempting trio through a decade-long power struggle, the movie audience and I both knew we were witnessing the birth of a new movie star. And as I thought of the various career moves that Zendaya has had to take in order to get to this rare spot, I couldn't help but think, damn, Tom Holland must be so jealous right now. How could Tom Holland be jealous of his snaggletooth queen, Zendaya? What? I mean, we've seen the interviews like this. Or like that.
You're really good at that.
Well, you'd hope so. I've been doing it long enough.
But I'm just saying.
Well, a good one.
Ooh.
Jacob.
Yes, they're very cute. They have chemistry, all right? Yes, they seem very much into each other. Good for them. Must be nice. I'm trying to get like you, my boy. So let's talk about Tom Holland and Zendaya because they both actually had their big break basically at the same time, this Spider-Man movie. And I know some fans are about to say something, especially when it comes to Zendaya, but let's be totally real. Being in a Spider-Man movie is bigger than anything else she had done up until that point. But they both have their big break at the same time. Tom Holland, of course, playing Spider-Man, and Zendaya playing mysterious girl, and then it turns out it's MJ. This for me was really my big introduction into Zendaya. And so after this big break, you kind of see as their careers go in different directions. Zendaya, after the initial Marvel success, is choosing to do more character-driven stuff, kind of smaller indie stuff. Of course, we're talking about like Euphoria, which is very much a showcase for her talents. She's probably the best part of that show. And then you have something like Malcolm and Marie, which, while maybe not the strongest movie, and especially in light of Sam Levinson and, you know, some of his stuff, she has some really good acting moments in it. And then, of course, now her being a supporting character within the Dune series. While Tom Holland's career, on the other hand, he's trying to do some character actor stuff, but maybe I wonder if he's being burdened a little bit more by the fact that he's like the titular character. He's Spider-Man, right? And so nothing of his really hits outside of Spider-Man. So it's been about 8 years since they both had this initial breakout, right? And there's a question to be asked, which is, so after these 8 years, out of the two of them, which one of them is having the better career right now? And I think it's safe to say it's Zendaya. And that's interesting that Zendaya is the one who's doing better because from the outlook of both their careers, she had the more challenging goal, right? So she was a child actress, right? That's really where she got her first initial start. Now, of course, I'm of an older generation, so I did not really grow up with Zendaya. I was vaguely aware of her, but my first real introduction to her was the Spider-Man movie. So I had none of the baggage of her being a child star at all. But my younger friends did. And so they let me know just how big of a deal Zendaya was. They showed me like how popular she was, but also they showed me this. Which I'm not gonna lie, that song kind of catchy. But also she had the challenge of the fact that she is a woman of color. Yes, she's biracial, and that right now, especially in the Black community, that's like a really big discussion because I'm not gonna lie, being someone who's biracial, sometimes biracials do things that are questionable. But yeah, that's a very challenging thing, right? Like being a woman of color within this industry, your career doesn't tend to have as many chances. But also she's coming up on a thing that hits a lot of women in this industry, which is the fact that, you know, she's gonna be 30 in a couple years, which for some reason in this industry means that when you're 30, you're ancient, and for some reason you can't be in movies anymore, and you're not attractive anymore for some reason, even though who gives a crap about you being attractive? We're here for acting talent, are we not? What the hell are we talking about here? Which, when I list out Tom's advantages and where he's coming from, like one, at least from what I've seen, he's kind of a kid of privilege, but hey, you don't really have any say on that. He's like a very charismatic actor. He's British, which is interesting because for the fact that the way America got its independence was by fighting off the British, man, we sure do love casting their actors in our stuff even more than Americans at times. He also landed the role of Spider-Man, one of the most iconic characters in the world. I think Spider-Man is on the same popularity of like a Batman and a Superman. So he also landed that as his like breakout role. But also Tom Holland is dedicated and a talented actor. Now I know there are some people being like, he's not talented. One of my friends does not particularly think he's talented, but this man is talented, and you can't, at the very least, you have to say he's dedicated. This man is dedicated enough that he did a show where he took back shots for us. No one asked for that, but he took the damn back shots, and he didn't do it in a way that was, you know, he could kind of save face a little bit. He did it in a way where he's taking back shots. I don't really know what you want me to say. So how did Zendaya come out on top over Spider-Man? So Tom Holland, fire your agents and hire me, because apparently they can't see that your career is being affected by this thing I like to call superheroes killed the movie star. When we talk about movie stars, I'm talking about, and I'm going to be biased, but back in my day, there were like bona fide movie stars where if you heard Will Smith was leading a movie, or Tom Cruise, or a Brad Pitt, or these kind of people, it almost kind of didn't matter what the premise of the movie was. Just their name alone could sell that movie. That's how much star power they had. And I know some of you are hearing this and going, Marvel has movie stars? What are you talking about? They have movie stars. No. So in this last decade with Marvel, right, they affected like the movie business, like how the studios go about making movies and what they decided to focus on. But also it affected how actors were made into stars, right? So what I noticed with this superhero effect is when you have these actors like Tom Holland, right, where they get defined by playing one of these huge iconic characters, and that's their main breakthrough role, right? What ends up happening is this weird power switch where as long as they are playing this character, they are a movie star, right? They're in the movies that make a bunch of money, they're super huge and they're super popular. And I get what happens to some of these movie stars where, especially if that's their breakthrough role, because with a lot of these Marvel roles as well, they usually have to play this for, you know, like 4 or 5 years. And that might be the main thing that they're working on for a while because of the, you know, Marvel was smart to kind of lock them down a little bit so there's consistency. So you have it where these people, you know, in their first role, they kind of are like a movie star, right? They have a bunch of fame, they have a bunch of popularity, and then they try to make something outside of that. A weird thing happens where when these actors try to leave these roles, the audience that they thought were with them were not really there for the actor. They were there for the character. So when they leave that character, they leave with like a fraction of that audience. And so it makes it where a lot of these stars can't get a foothold in any other role outside of these characters, right? And so when you see how Marvel affected the movie industry, let's talk about Hollywood now. Hollywood ended up also weakening star power, because what they did is when they saw Marvel making all billions of dollars with those movies consistently, all the other movie studios basically went, I want some of that shit. So they just started scrambling and looking for any IP that they could find and diverting a lot of their money away from like medium to low budget movies and moving them to big IP movies, right? And so what it did is like medium budget movies are really important because they have more creative freedom because they don't have as much money behind them. And so like filmmakers and actors and actresses can really build their own audience and define their voice, right? And especially for actors and actresses, this is really important where medium budget movies are a lot of times where an actor is going to start making some iconic roles. Like think of like Christian Bale from American Psycho, right? Relatively young, unknown actor, does American Psycho, builds up a little bit of buzz, very iconic character. I mean, all the Sigma male memes, you guys are seeing all that stuff. And then he got picked up for Batman, but he luckily got to build a little bit of like framework outside of Batman. So that way, once he was done playing that character, his career wasn't like done. But now you have it where these young actors and actresses are not really getting to do that anymore. So let's get back to Tom Holland. Like outside of the Spider-Man movies, none of his other stuff is really working. And I know some people are gonna be like, what about the Uncharted movies? The Uncharted movie does not really avoid the problem. One, if you're a real Uncharted fan, you know that's not really like Nathan Drake he's playing. It's not even Sully, who Mark Wahlberg is playing. But also, you're not really fixing the problem because you're just swapping Spider-Man out for Nathan Drake because Nathan Drake is known outside of Tom Holland before he started playing it. And let's be real, Uncharted is not as popular as something like Spider-Man. So, okay, you've got two roles that are both hinge on the fact that you're playing iconic characters that you didn't really get to define. And it sucks that he's not really getting to do this because what this is doing to Tom Holland is making it where he does not have individual like star power. Some of his peers are starting to do it, like a Jacob Elordi or a Barry Keoghan or Timothy Chalamet, aka the one she tells you not to worry about.
You could be the master of your fate, you could be the captain of your soul, but you have to realize that life is coming from you and not at you. And that takes time.
Wow.
Okay.
Because these three young actors, these peers of his, they are building like star power. They're building a fan base that is there for them. And it makes me think to this quote that Leonardo DiCaprio, a movie star that I'm sure a lot of these young actors would like to have a career as good as his, where Timothée Chalamet told this story of, he was working on a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and asked him for some advice. And Leonardo DiCaprio gave him some really simple advice. He said, no hard drugs, so no fun, and no superhero movies. And that's interesting. He didn't really elaborate. I haven't really seen anybody elaborate on this point, but what did Leonardo DiCaprio mean by no superhero movies?
What do you mean by that?
And I think the answer lies in the route that Zendaya has taken. Now, I know some of you are going to go, but she was in the Spider-Man movie, so a little bit of caveat, but she's not the main character of that. I think the answer and what Leonardo DiCaprio meant by this was you should go and play either lesser known characters or characters that are technically like original characters. Because when you as an actor or actress play roles like this, because you're not filling the shoes of an iconic character that would be popular whether you were there or not, to be honest, you build individual star power. And Zendaya has been slowly crafting a career like that with Euphoria, right? Rue, that's an original character. That's a character that she basically got to define. And I'm sure even her early Disney star days, she's getting to define those characters. So that makes it where there's an audience that is there for specifically Zendaya. And to a certain extent, I wonder, because she is a woman of color, she maybe moved in a way that was more savvy, where she purposely crafted her career in a way to make it where I need to make sure that there's a fan base that is here for me. So wherever I go, they go. Like, think of like a Beyonce, right? A Beyonce has a super dedicated fan base that anything she does, they go there. And anybody, he's like, what are you talking about? You just don't know then. You just don't know.
And if you don't know, now you know.
Zendaya has gone out of her way at times to pick interesting roles to the point that she's in the first Dune movie, but is she in the first Dune movie? Because her whole role in that first movie could be summed up this way.
Queen of vague inactivity.
But when you watch the second Dune movie, you realize the calculated move she made there of making it where in that first movie, she's like a suggestion. She's good for marketing. It has paid off for Zendaya, where now we've gotten to a moment like Challengers where she is the biggest star in that movie, and the movie is doing incredibly well. A rated R sexy movie, something that they said Gen Z was not interested in anymore. It's now #1 in the box office. A rated R adult film, right? Not adult in the dirty way. Get out of your head unless, well, we got to, but yeah, like, so the antidote is you need to build your own individual star power. Do not get too caught up in an iconic character, especially if that's the character that is your like exploding moment of your career. And for some of you Tom Holland fans, you might be going, well, damn, what you've painted out, kind of sounds dire for our boy. So is there any hope? Well, I think there is some hope. And I think partly it's because Marvel's starting to fall. They're not able to make the money that they were making before. And a lot of these studios, not just Marvel, are learning that you cannot just lean on iconic characters and cameos and fan service, that eventually there will be a diminishing return. The people will get tired of it. Not because superhero movies are dumb or tired. It's because you're only limiting it to a certain lazy, formulaic, I'm looking at you business people, formulaic version of it that totally misses the heart and what makes these characters amazing. Like, side note, I'm watching the new X-Men show on Disney, right? And I've seen the X-Men movies before. This X-Men show is too damn good. I'm crying in some of these damn episodes for these characters. So it's not the superheroes, it's the formula that you guys are using. With that being said, it makes me think of the Core Jefferson speech that he gave at the Oscars, where he lays out a pretty good business plan in the view of creativity.
I understand that this is a risk-averse industry. I get it. But $200 million movies are also a risk, and it doesn't always work out, but you take the risk anyway. And instead of making one $200 million movie, try making 20 $10 million movies. Or the next Martin Scorsese's out there, the next Greta's out there, both Gretas, the next Christopher Nolan's out there, I promise you. They just want a shot, and we can give them one, and this has changed my life.
And so, with them deciding to produce more medium budget movies, it opens the door back up to, like I said with the medium budget movies earlier, medium budget movies allow for more creative input. It allows for auteurs to spring up. It allows for young actors and actresses to sculpt and define iconic roles, not because it was already iconic before they got there, but because they make it iconic. You know, it harkens back to the heydays of the indies 90s scene. You know what I mean? Like we wouldn't get a guy like a Quentin Tarantino or Paul Thomas Anderson or Catherine Bill. You wouldn't get that without that sort of medium budget movie. And maybe, just maybe, for you Tom Holland fans out there, with this new creative landscape that Hollywood is moving into because they're risk adverse, that maybe this will open the door and allow for Tom Holland to get that iconic character role, to get a couple of iconic character roles and make it where he will have solid footing outside of when he decides to stop playing Spider-Man. And to be honest, I hope he gets that because Zendaya is showing how fruitful that really can be. So my advice costs $1 million.